What is the worst song in every Mario Kart game? And to answer that, we have to start at the very beginning with Super Mario Kart. And before anyone in the comments tells me I'm wrong about everything I'm about to say, yes, I know you grew up with this game, it's perfect, nothing is wrong with it, I get it. But seriously, the driving in Super Mario Kart is stiff. Like, it feels about as uncomfortable as having a GameCube reject your NES cartridge. The music is doing a lot of heavy lifting to smooth that over in a way you don't notice until you take it away. Try playing with the sound off sometime and all those distractions of the actual racing go away. Even though this is the first game in the series, its soundtrack is surprisingly solid if not simple. However, my least favorite is Ghost Valley. Wasn't even close. I went through the whole soundtrack and without any internal debate, I had my answer. Ghost Valley is pretty much just the Super Mario World Boo House theme. Like, that's it. They took that track, put it in a racing game, and called it a day. In Super Mario World, it works great. It's a haunted house, there's scary ghosts everywhere. But in Mario Kart, you're trying to race. You're trying to go fast, and the music does not also need to be an existential threat. It's just slow, and the synth sounds are just more irritating than spooky, and it's completely outside the energy of everything else here. I know I'm going to have some controversial picks in this video. I don't think this one's going to be one of those. Before I get to the next game, I just want to clarify I'm going to try and focus just on the original race music in each game. Now subscribe and check out these videos when you're done with this. The jump to Nintendo 64 is about as massive as a file size for a COD game. The loops stretch out, everything sounds less compressed, and every course has its own identity instead of blending it into a shared atmosphere. There was a lot more they could do with the actual sounds here. What I've always found interesting about the soundtrack is just how relaxed it is for a racing game. Now, not every track is like that, but a good amount are. Even the tracks that are supposed to have some intensity kind of have this calmness that keeps them from ever feeling urgent. And I think that's a huge reason why going back to 64 still feels comfortable even when the visuals are doing the best impression of a geometry homework assignment. The music makes it cozy, and that is worth something here. Rainbow Road is the highlight here, and I talked a lot about that in my last video. Then there's also Chocolate Mountain, which is great, but my least favorite here is Banshee Boardwalk. No real melody underneath it, just some percussion and ambient sounds drifting around. It sounds like those areas in Ocarina or Majora's Mask where the music is just there to make you feel like something bad is about to happen, and there's no actual song under it. It's just vibes and dread. Works great in a Zelda game, does not work for me in a kart racer. DK's Jungle Parkway was also in the conversation because it spends its whole runtime winding up for a swing it never takes. Like, it always feels like it's about to get to like a really good part of the melody, and that just never happens. But Banshee Boardwalk is the one I actively don't want to hear, so that's where I'm landing here. Mario Kart Super Circuit, a very strange entry in the series because it was developed by Intelligent Systems instead of Nintendo EAD, and the music has a noticeably different character. Like, it's more melodically ambitious than Super Mario Kart and more structured, more energy overall, also coming through that thin compressed GBA sound, so there's a ceiling on everything regardless. The whole thing is relentlessly upbeat, almost to an alarming degree. Like, this game wants you to be happy, which is the exact opposite of how I feel playing Mario Kart half the time. My least favorite though is Circuit Course. And unlike Ghost Valley, nothing offensive is happening, nothing that makes me want to put my GBA down. It just kind of makes me feel absolutely nothing, which for a main circuit theme is kind of its own problem. This is the track that's supposed to tell you what kind of game you're in for right from the jump, and Circuit Course doesn't really do that for me. Like, it kind of just plays like as songs do, but I've never really thought about it much while playing it just because it doesn't stand out to me that much. It's like the audio equivalent of meeting someone at a party, having a full conversation with them, and having no memory of it the next morning. Not because anything went wrong, just because nothing happened. And honestly, if I can say a game's worst song is just something that's not memorable but not bad, I think that's still a pretty big win. Before anything else, I need to say something. Double Dash has one of the most slept-on soundtracks in this franchise, and nobody talks about it, and it really bothers me. Mario Kart 8 gets talked about constantly, DS gets its recognition, Double Dash just gets quietly skipped. This is wrong, and I do want it on the record here. This is the first time in the series that the music actually sounds clean. Mushroom City is one of my favorite Mario Kart songs ever up until this point, and it is maybe the best example of how much more instrumentation the GameCube was capable of. Like, I really like 64's soundtrack, but I just don't think it compares. My least favorite is Dry Dry Desert. And part of this is personal bias I should be upfront about. Desert themes in Mario games have never really clicked for me. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty I do like, but I don't know, it's just never been my favorite theme. Like, I feel like a lot of them have a lot of cool instrument choices in the background, and maybe have some interesting things going on. But as a song by itself, like, a lot just don't really do much for me. And I feel like Dry Dry Desert kind of fits that pattern. And like with Circuit Course, there's nothing offensively bad here. It's a fine song. But we're kind of getting to the point of the video where these soundtracks are just so expansive and just so high quality that it's going to be hard to find an even below average tune. So in a soundtrack where pretty much everything is a hit, this is the one I unfortunately did have to pick here. Okay, I need a second before this one. Mario Kart DS was my first Mario Kart. I got it as a kid, and these songs are burned into my memory in a way that nothing else in this franchise comes close to, except maybe the next game I'll talk about. They take me back almost 20 years to a simpler time, a better time, a time before Tung 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 Sahur was announced for Fortnite. We didn't know how good we had it, and now I have to stand here in front of you and tell you which track is my least favorite. There is not a single song in this game I actually dislike. Not one. I went through the whole soundtrack multiple times, took notes, made lists, stared at the list, made different lists, crossed things out, started over. The DS soundtrack just gives everything this kind of metallic feel to it that's kind of hard to quantify unless you're actually listening to it on a DS. Like, everything here just works. Waluigi Pinball, Delfino Square, Airship Fortress. I'm sitting here trying to find a weak spot in the soundtrack, and it's like trying to find a Wii U in a Wii stack. So I was stuck between Luigi's Mansion and Tick-Tock Clock. For longer than I want to admit. Luigi's Mansion has this slightly eerie quality I'm not always in the mood for, but it builds something real with it. Tick-Tock Clock is intentionally off, like there's timing things baked into it where the track almost feels slightly out of sync with itself on purpose, and there are parts I like a lot and parts clearly designed to feel a little wrong. But if I do have to pick one, and I have to, that's the whole premise of this video, it's Tick-Tock Clock. Picking a worst from this game is like being asked to pick your least favorite person in your friend group. Everyone's looking at you, you have to point at someone, you pick the one you've known the least amount of time, and then immediately feel terrible about it and spend the rest of the day second guessing yourself. Tick-Tock Clock, I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with you and everything to do with me agreeing to make this video. Mario Kart Wii, my favorite game in the series, second best original soundtrack in the franchise. I said it before and I'll say it again until someone proves me wrong, which won't happen. On the surface, everything hooks you fast. There's always something in the first few seconds of basically every track. Like, there's nothing to be patient here, like most songs just get right into it here. Coconut Mall is maybe one of the best music tracks in the series, and really all the tunes here have a really lively score. These tracks also had to survive being heard hundreds of times. Like, this is the game with the Wii Wheel, the most innovative thing of all time. The game that brought in a massive wave of new players who then played it constantly for years across cups and time trials and online sessions. Most music built for instant appeal burns out fast, and this stuff doesn't. And that's harder to pull off than it sounds, and I think it gets completely taken for granted. And my least favorite, I know someone has been waiting for this. This is probably your favorite game. You watching this video, Mario Kart Wii is your favorite game, and you've been waiting for my pick here, and it's Grumble Volcano. The percussion is solid, the ominous energy fits a volcano track, and there's moments in it I enjoy every time. I like Grumble Volcano, and I do want that on the record, but in a soundtrack full of stuff I love, like is a different category, and that gap is the entire reason it's here. Grumble Volcano just had the misfortune of being born into a game with just too many good tracks. Genuinely just bad luck for this track, because it isn't bad. Like, I don't know what else to tell you here. 7 came right after Wii's enormous cultural impact and right before A's massive leap forward, so it sort of exists between two landmarks without getting talked about the way it should. And that's a shame because the soundtrack is really consistent all the way through, and the highs are really high here. In my opinion, one of the best versions of Rainbow Road in terms of music is in this game. Like, I just really love it here, and it often gets overlooked. But the one I care for the least after some thought was Rosalina's Ice World. Again, I've said this like 5 times, I don't dislike it. It's doing something deliberately strange, it's cold, it's like moving through somewhere that doesn't quite exist. It has some weird sound choices that I find interesting, and there are parts of it that are cool, and I do mean that. And even though I said it's strange and interesting, that doesn't mean it's a great track. Every time I go through the soundtrack, this is kind of the one that just sticks with me the least. Pretty solid overall though, like I don't think Mario Kart 7 really has any below average tracks, and actually took me a lot of time to finally settle on this. And this actually may be my least favorite song of the whole video, maybe besides Tick-Tock Clock. I've been dreading this one since I started writing this, and let me just get into it. Mario Kart 8 has the best original soundtrack in the history of this franchise. I don't think that's a controversial statement. The real brass, real bass, real drums, and an actual band in a room playing together, like you feel it immediately. And I want to say something here as a saxophone player. I always appreciate sax solos or sax inclusion in Mario songs, and 8 of course has a lot of that. This game just has one of the best soundtracks ever with Dolphin Shoals, Electrodome, Water Park, Big Blue, Mario Circuit. I went through all of it again while writing this, and had a great time right up until I remembered I had to pick one as the worst. And you know what, I'm just gonna say it here, I'm going with Cloud Top Cruise. What is there to say about this one, other than you wrote a comment saying I'm wrong, even though I'm trolling and this isn't my actual pick? Like, you seriously thought I would pick a song with Gusty Garden Galaxy in it as a game's worst tune? I'm going with Thwomp Ruins. I have nothing bad to say about it. The percussion fits the ancient ruin setting, the atmosphere is coherent, the track has plenty of moments, like it is a well-made piece of music. And the only reason it's here, kinda like with the previous couple games, is that the soundtrack is just so strong overall, where I'd say 95% of the original music in this game is top-tier video game music, that anything that is even below that is gonna be in consideration to be the worst. And before anyone attacks me in the comments, go put on the Mario Kart 8 original soundtrack right now and try to find the obvious pick. Like, you can. Every track is at least good, most are great, and picking a worst from this game, it just means finding which one you happen to be least attached to. And if you think that's wrong, just know I spent a very long time in this, and I'm not thrilled about it either. When I put out the best Mario Kart music video and said Tour soundtrack didn't really do much for me, a lot of people had thoughts on that. Several people pointed specifically to Vancouver Velocity as something I'd missed out, and going back to it, and you know what, yeah, that one's pretty good. I was underselling that, but with that being said, my overall position on this game hasn't changed much. I just don't think it has the best soundtrack. I think it is solid. I think for a mobile game, it's pretty good. Pretty much all the original music here is based on a specific location, whether it's New York, Tokyo, London. The music tries to take inspiration from the area it's representing. And before my pick, I want to talk about Athens Dash. I didn't mention it in the last video, and I need to correct that now. It's like the only time we've ever had Greek representation in a Mario game. I guess unless you want to count like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. But I gotta give the W to Tour here. But anyway, my least favorite is Los Angeles Laps. Besides its theme being one of the cities I'd want to live in least in the United States, I just don't really care for the track much. Melody doesn't stick and the whole thing feels like it's going through the motions of being a city track without actually feeling like anywhere specific. The name says Los Angeles, and the setting technically says Los Angeles, but the music says we have Los Angeles at home. It's just kind of uninteresting to me, and I just find it kind of meh. Home circuit is not a traditional Mario Kart in basically any sense. You're physically setting up AR gates in your living room and racing a little RC car through them. Very cool concept, but a very limited execution. And the music mostly reflects that. Not much original here, mostly remixes of existing Mario songs. Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings invade pulls from Mario Galaxy, which is always the right call. I mean, we could always use more Mario Galaxy music. Royal Highway is an N64 Yoshi Valley rework that I enjoy probably more than I should. My pick is Freezy Frost. So I actually kind of like this, but the reason I'm going with it here is just because it feels so out of place. Like, this does not sound like an ice song. Like, it's Wild Woods, which of course has more of that forest theme, but then it's played in an ice track. Like, hearing that used in this track left me about as confused as I was after I finished watching Donnie Darko. And then there's also Ember Island, which was my other option here. But it's basically Grumble Volcano, and I didn't want to just be repetitive with that. Mario Kart World has a ridiculous amount of music in it. The biggest OST in franchise history, especially when you count all the free roam remixes, some of which are great. Like, I made a video on a bunch of them early on in my channel, so go check out that video if you want. The original tracks have this road trip quality that fits perfectly with what the game is, built around driving between places, treating the journey as the point, and the music matches that throughout. It's kind of looser and more open than Mario Kart 8, which has a more specific kind of jazz energy. And I said this in my last video, but this just reminds me of the movie Cars. Just the open road feel, the sense you're going somewhere in the desert, and thankfully there were people who agreed with me on this, so apparently I'm not crazy. DK Spaceport was in the conversation for my pick. And then I immediately decided no out of respect for the Barry Sax community. So I do play alto, but I do understand what Barry Sax players go through, so that is a reason why I'm not going with this. Also, going off topic, but does Salty Salty Speedway sound like a Mario and Luigi Brothership song to anyone else? or am I actually losing my mind? Something about the instrumentation just makes me think of it every time. I need confirmation in the comments, I just need to know about this. But as for my least favorite, it is Sky High Sunday. So the bass line here is fantastic, and whoever wrote that deserves to know it. The rest of it just doesn't reach that same level. It's pleasant, it fits the setting, does the job, but when I go through everything World has and try to find one I keep skipping on a playlist, this is the one. The bass line though is really amazing, still listen to this track. And finally, I do want to just talk about the arcade games. I'm not going to talk about them individually, I'm grouping them together here. Developed with Bandai Namco and built for your local Chuck E. Cheese and David Buster's. These were designed for someone to put credits into and play for a few minutes, so it's hard to hold it to the same standard as the other Mario Kart games. It would be like going to McDonald's and expecting Michelin star food. There are tunes here that work. I think Mario Highway is one of the best examples. But my least favorite here is Diamond City. No, not that Diamond City.
The technology that doesn't become a comparison when you're close to WOEM companies.
The futuristic concept is fine, and we've seen that before in the Mario Kart series, but it just feels like the loop never pays off. Kind of like with the Donkey Kong track I mentioned earlier on. It just feels like it's building and building and building, but never actually has a good payoff. And also layered over all of that are these Animal Crossing villager noises, and it's just kind of weird to have here. I guess it's supposed to sound like aliens or something, but I don't think it really goes well with it. And that is my least favorite song in every Mario Kart game. And this was a very tough list to make, because there's so few bad tunes in the series that I had to listen to pretty much all the OSTs multiple times to just feel somewhat confident in my answers. And this is just my personal opinion, you can disagree, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Now subscribe and check out these videos.